Yo, what is up, fight fans? We got Glove Talk episode 20. Here, my boy Jose.
Yo,
We're gonna call this season 2.
yes,
We're
sir.
gonna talk, say more professional with it, but we're here to talk about UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez, Brandon Moreno versus Pantoja, and then get into fight night next week, Bueno Silva versus Holly Holm. So it was a good card. What would you rate the card out of 1 to 10, Jose?
This is probably a 10, bro. If I'm being honest, it's a 10. It's as
Okay.
close as you can get to a 10. It was like for the amount of fights that got lost with the replacements and stuff. Josiah Harrell getting that brain disease after trying to step in and fight Dil Madalena. This card was a banger from start to finish. Right. Not really any boring fights. Maybe the co-main for a little bit. Finishes inside a minute. Tear jerkers with Robbie Lawler retiring. This card had it all, man. It was great. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and I forgot Jack Della Maddalena was supposed to be on this card. That would have made this card like a 10.5 out of 10, but
And Sean Brady. Sean Brady is supposed to be on it too.
and Sean Brady. So yeah, I would have gave this card's a 10 for sure. So let's get into the early prelims. We had Kirk versus Esteban Ribovic. Ribovic over here getting a decision win, showing that his striking, top tier. Kirk, he just had low hands in this fight. He had low hands, bad defense, bad footwork. He was, trying to just come and do dirty boxing and brawl and grapple, but he wasn't really setting up any shots. He was just trying to, fatigue, shoot shots, kind of like, Kamaru versus Leon Edwards on the third fight. Not setting up any of the takedowns with his hands or kicks or anything. So, a good one for Ribovic. He had a tough first round, but then after that, showing that he's well rounded, so he can stop takedowns. I
Yeah,
like
and
the guy. I'm a
Rebic,
fan.
yeah, Rebic is a top prospect for a reason, man. He's so good. And I like the way the UFC got a lot of these international guys on the card. You got Argentinian fighters, Russian fighters, all this stuff like Mexican fighters, like a whole array of international fighters. Right? It was International Fight Week. And Rubic kind of showing that South America is coming on with those good mixed martial artists, right? Especially a country like Argentina, which isn't known for that. He looked very good, man. He impressed me a lot. Like you said, difficult first round. But it's all about the way you recover in the fight game, right? And he did a really good job recovering. Very complete way of fighting. And it's a good way to open the card as well. I think.
I can't
Well,
take you serious with that suit, bro. You look mad professional. Nah, fuck with it. No, I actually fuck with it though. You should have told
listen,
me. I would
man.
have came. I would have came. I would have came. We would have came correct. Maybe
Listen, man.
for the John Jones versus Stipe, we come with some special.
Listen, brother. This is who I am. I try to be as professional as I can be. With a little bit of Tony Soprano sprinkled in there, right? But nah, man. Listen, Rivich, man. I want to look like I sit cage side at the fights. That's what I'm trying to go for right now. I want to look like I sit with Dana White. No tie, open shirt, center watching the fights, man.
You
But
want to
good
look
way to
like you
start the
got that.
card.
You want to look like you got that Rumble deal. I mean, you want to look
Hopefully
like you got
soon,
that.
man. Hopefully soon. But no,
We're
man.
now on Rumble, guys. So tune in.
Yes, we're now on Rumble. Tune into us there. But yeah, no, Esteban Ribovic, man, great job, great win for him. And again, he keeps climbing up and up, man. I'm excited to see what happens to him at lightweight. Yeah, no, good fight, man. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and then getting into the second fight, we had Shannon Ross and Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar catching him with the mean right hand and putting his lights out. And I think the problem here was that after Shannon threw that kick, he kind of just backed straight up. He didn't go, left to right. He just went back with it. And so Jesus, all he had to do was go forward, and the right hand was there. If you just go straight back, you don't turn or back off with an angle, you're gonna get hit with a mean right hand. So perfect shot, and what was it, like 17-second knockout? So
Yeah, 17
right there.
seconds. The memes were great too. His face when he got knocked was definitely meme worthy for sure, man. Like you said, it was just poor execution, right, which caused that to happen. When you're throwing strikes, right? We talked about this in the fight breakdowns, right, that we did about this week for Volk and Yair. Same thing. When you're throwing strikes, it's all about the way you rotate out of those strikes with your feet, right? That gets you in the positions to win in positions where you don't get hit, right? Shannon Rossman, just one bad movement. This is how the fight game works, man. One bad movement, next thing you know, you are out on the ground and then into a meme, right? For Jesus Aguilar, man, that was beautiful striking. That shot was picture perfect. And it kind of turned to the theme of this card, right? Hitting those picture perfect shots, man. The power in it. No, good win for Jesus Aguilar, man. Hits like a truck for a flyweight. I'm interested to see how he keeps progressing in the fight game, right, in the UFC. But no, very good win, man. And one of those knockouts, those inside a minute knockouts, man, are always good. Good material for us to like just get our eyes glued to the screen or whatever. So yeah, no, good win for him for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure he was fueled by that Mexican crowd in there. So,
Yeah,
going to the next fight, we had the South African, teammates with Dricus, Cameron Simon, out here getting to finish the ground and pound win over, late notice fighter Terrence Mitchell out. I think he fights out of Alaska, I think.
Anchorage,
But
Alaska. Yep.
yeah, so Cameron Simon, we like this guy. His last two fights, he got wins and with eye pokes or with fouls, but he's not a dirty fighter. He's a great fighter. He's the bantamweight is just deep as hell, like we always be saying, and this just shows that more and
Yeah,
more every week.
Terrence Mitchell was on the Ultimate Fighter season with Kai Car France, Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, right? Then he goes up to bantamweight, and he took like a 4-year break in fighting, then another 4-year break in fighting, then another 4-year break in fighting, right? So the guy had a lot of empty spots in his like timeline as a fighter. But again, took the fight short notice. And again, credit to him for taking the fight, save the fight, right? But Cameron Simon, man, one of the things I noticed is when he got on the ground, a lot of people would think that Cameron Simon wouldn't be comfortable on the ground, right? He's very much a striker. He looked very good on the ground, man. And the thing with Terrence Mitchell is Terrence Mitchell, this is the difference in the levels of the fight game, guys. And we'll see it with Val Woodburn later in this card as we keep discussing it, is the difference in talent and cardio and all these other things that you have to go from a regional promotion to even Bellator or UFC, right? Or one is so drastic, right? Like Terrence Mitchell, I'm not down. Terrence Mitchell is a better athlete than you and me, right? And anybody watching, for being honest, right? But you look at how drained he got so quick because it takes that level of training, that level of every single day pushing, pushing, pushing. These guys have 8-week fight camps for a reason, right? 6-week fight camps because they need it. You have to condition your body, right? To be able to keep up the output. This fight was only 3 minutes, right? And that 3 minute output, as someone that practices jujitsu, I can tell you that 3 minutes of constant grappling and movement and exertion of muscle and movement kills anybody that is not trained to uphold that, right? And so for Cameron Simon, man, he looks like he's in great condition, great striking, great on the ground. And Terrence Mitchell's a big guy for that weight class as well. So I'm very impressed with Cameron Simon, man. He's definitely the future. But it shows there's levels in this game, man. These late replacement fights we saw with Mosbar Loev when he fought the Brazilian guy, right? And that guy is a outlier in terms of late replacement guys that can actually keep up and fight because of how much time and preparation it takes to go into these fights. So good win for Cameron Simon, man. He keeps impressing us. He even said after the fight, hey, no fouls this time, right? And so, yeah, Cameron Simon keeps rolling on and on, man. And at bantamweight, he's an interesting guy to look out for, right? As he starts looking towards the top 15.
Yeah. Then we go into a light heavyweight fight. We had our boy Vitor Petrino getting the win over Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio coming off of retiring William Knight. The most that's probably the worst UFC fight I've ever seen, but it wasn't really his fault. It wasn't really his fault, but Victor Petrino, coming in, and I think he dominated this fight and then ended up getting a submission in round three. Prochnio just seemed like he couldn't get nothing going. He's a little awkward with his stance a little bit when they're striking, but Petrino's power just deterred him with anything he wanted to do. Vitor, he's not even the most technical guy, not even on the ground, but I think his power just fills
Yep.
in for all of that. So once that technicality catches up, he's going to be one of the top guys in light heavyweight. I predict he might be a champion one day. And his hands are kind of low with his striking, but it's kind of smart because he catches people a lot with that left check hook.
Right.
Because he comes from a weird position where they can't see. He comes low and he has power. So if you don't see it, you get cracked. So
Yep. His
great fight.
striking reminds me a lot of Jamal in that sense, where like Jamal kind of does the same thing where like, he keeps his hands like deceptively low, but because they throw their shots from weird angles, they have the power behind it, and they can lean into the shots in the ways where if you do hit them, it's glancing blows. It's not like straight in. Also, Vitor Petrino, man, he reminds me a lot of Jalton Almeida in some ways, where it's like super athletic, um, super powerful, and they're also just well rounded. Like on the ground, they are well rounded. On the feet, they're well rounded. Obviously, Vitor Petrino is younger, has stuff to work on, like we talked about with the striking and stuff, but it's there. You can tell that this guy has superstar written all over his future, right? And like you said, I see a potential future champion here if he pieces it all together, right? He's only 25 years old, 9-0. He's got some very impressive victories on his resume, right? I think you definitely could see a future where like him and Jalton Almeida, the light heavyweight and heavyweight, those guys, that mold of super athletic guys at that heavy of a weight being able to do all these things, you know. But good win for him and for Marcin Prachnio. It was just one of those things where you could see what he wanted to do, but it's tough to enact it when you're facing a guy who has so many answers to your questions, right? That's how the fight game works. And for Prochnio, like you said, he got exposed in the stand up. That's the biggest one I saw. He got exposed in the stand up because it's not William Knight. You know, William Knight was just standing there the whole time. William Knight was letting him kick him from a foot away and not do anything. And Petrino was pushing the pace. Petrino was pushing the pace. He was clinching. He was doing all these things right. Vitor Petrino, man, one of our favorites here at Glove Talk. I think we gotta get a graphic with all our favorites. We got the whole list of guys, right? Vitor Petrino's definitely one to look out for sure. Good win for him. Yeah, can't wait to see what more we see out of Vitor Petrino, man. He's 25. The sky's the limit with him.
And then I don't even want to talk about the next fight,
Nope,
man. Going into the
nope,
regular prelims, but
nope.
we had I don't know. I'm not a Jimmy Crute fan after this fight, but Jimmy Crute taking the loss, getting submitted, getting guillotined by Alonzo Menenfield. You know, Crute just not looking the same. You know, he's been through a lot of wars. This fight was a draw, you know, a couple months back, so they ran him back. And you know, Alonzo Menenfield, I'm gonna be frank, I just don't like him. He's corny, trained by the pedo Pat Barry. I mean, so that's all I gotta say. And I don't want to say anymore. I don't want to talk about this guy no more. He's gonna get knocked out his next fight anyway, you know. So I don't know, man. Ever since Jimmy Crute cut the mullet, then GG's, bro.
Oh, we're giving Pat Barry airtime on here. I see. All right. Oh yeah, no. Pat Barry trains Alonzo Menenfield. Oh boy. Okay. So yeah, Jimmy Crute. Um, shaved the mullet, got beat by Jamal before that, had his leg give out against Lionheart, and then it's just not been the same, bro. It's disappointing. Jimmy's a good fighter, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what is happening. Alonzo Menafield though, he's okay. He's okay. For top 15 at light heavyweight, he's okay. He's not great.
Because that division is trash.
There you go. And the record kind of is deceptive, 14-3, right? I mean, listen, it was a good sub. I just can't respect people that train with Pat Barry. I can't do it. It's tough for me because the man literally groomed a student of his at his gym and ended up like marrying her basically. Like it's so messed up. But beside that, that's outside of fighting. Fighting wise, yeah, Lonzo Menafield, he's athletic. He's super athletic, but there's a reason that fight with Jimmy Crute the first time was a draw, right? And I think, yeah, he wins this fight, gets a sub, but Lonzo Menafield, man, I don't know. I'm not convinced. Until he fights one of the top light heavyweights, right, and can show that he can last in there 3 rounds or get a good finish against a top technical guy, then I'll shut up and apologize, right? But until then, Alonzo Menafield is just Ryan Spann but shorter, for being honest. So yeah,
Yeah.
no.
So give him like cheating and Chinku or something. Let him fight one of these other bums.
And Chekwu, bro, please. Kevin Kennedy and Chekwu. Kennedy and Chekwu would kill him, for being honest. But yeah, no, it happened. This fight happened. Jimmy Crute talking about retiring and cut his gloves or whatever. It's a shame to see that. I don't want that to happen, but hey, if he's got his money good and he wants to preserve his health and the love for the game's gone, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, bro. Because I can't keep. You know, I'm not claiming I'm a fan of him anymore. I'm saying that right now. So we had Denise Gomez with the knockout KO over Yasmin. How you say the last name?
Yarigi.
Yaragi. She had the crowd behind her, the Mexican, but you know Denise Gomez, the Brazilian. came in with the blitz, caught her with the right, and we got another strawweight contender here in the women's flyweight, strawweight. So, uh, good
I need
fighter,
to
man. We were just
apologize.
talking about her a couple months ago, So
Yeah, I need to apologize to Denise Gomez, man. I was doing my picks for the fight, and I picked Yarigi because I didn't realize it was Denise Gomez she was fighting. I apologize. Denise Gomez hits like a truck. The way that she strikes, the way she blitzes is not fair, bro. Because she's so short that you don't really process it until you have a right and a left hook hitting you in the jaw. It is insane the amount of power that she possesses strawweight. And Yasmin Yarigi is not a slouch. To knock her out that quick is not a joke. Denise Gomez, great win for her. We have been riding high on her since a few months ago, right? And she is so good, man, so good. Obviously we haven't seen her on the ground yet, but on the feet at least, oh my gosh, she is insane, man. I want to see more of her. I want to see fight bigger names. She's got it. She has the talent, bro. She has the power. Give her bigger fights. She beat an undefeated fighter, man. Give her a top 5 fight, a strawweight.
then we had another young guy we've been talking about, another up and comer, Tatsuro Tara fighting Edgar Chairez here. Um, getting the decision win here, and showing that he's good with the striking as well. He showed a little bit more striking in this fight. He's known for his grappling, but he also showed his grappling as well. And I think he won the fight, well deserved. Besides that one knockdown, he had a
Yep.
good fight, but a good fight from both guys.
Yes and no. This is where you and me are going to disagree here because I texted you when this happened. But Herb Dean has to get drug tested before these fights, bro. He has to, and after. Because Edgar Chairez was using his toes to stop Tyra from moving. Like he was holding guard with his toes in the cage, right? That's why Tyra got upset. And I would too. Because Herb Dean warned him and pulled it out. And then Chairez is hooking his toes in and holding guard on the left side with the toes and then wrapping his right leg around. And Herb Dean's just sitting there like, no downward elbows. What are you doing? Like, bro, it ruined for
Is that
me.
really
That
different though? Because you're allowed to push off the cage with your feet. I think the toes is really so you don't break your toe, like your toe don't get stuck
so
in the
here's
cage.
it. You can push up with the feet. You can't hook your toes inside the cage. Chira's hooked his toes inside the cage, right? They're in guard, right? So this is left foot, toes hooked in.
Yeah, I saw it.
What he was doing was holding Tyra with his toes because when you're in guard and you have something holding your legs, you can just hook it in and then use the right leg and have leverage with that, right? That's
Oh,
why Tyra could,
he was holding him in his guard. Yeah, facts, true.
yeah, yeah, and
He was
Tyra couldn't
keeping
do
him in
anything.
guard. He was stopping him from progressing to half
Exactly,
guard and side control,
exactly.
shit like that. Mounts. Yeah.
And that's the part that made me mad because again, Chira's, I'm not gonna call him a dirty fighter, right? You do what you do, you try to get away with it, you try to win, right? Herb Dean's got to be better because then he's calling out downward elbows on Tyra when he obviously has an angle. He's not doing a 12-6 elbow, right? It's so stupid. That rule's stupid anyway. But yeah, no. Tatsu Tyra had a great win, came back from that knockdown, almost got finished at the end of the fight. I thought he was going to go to sleep with that guillotine. Edgar Chairez, man, the only knock I have on him, he kept pulling guillotine a ton of times, right? Kind of like a Glover Teixeira against Yair thing. And I think that's what lost him the fight eventually. It almost won him it, but it lost him the fight, you know. But late notice fight, Tatsuro Taira looks very good. He's got to work on his stand up though. His chin is out there, ready to get hit every time. But other than that, man,
His
he's good.
striking though, he lands. I mean, he landed 82% of his strikes.
Yep.
So his accuracy there, just his defense. It's not all of it.
Right,
And for
right.
the headlight the prelims, we had the retirement, the last fight of Robbie Lawler. With the quick 38-second clinch knockout of Nico Price. Nico Price, lives in Cape. He's down the block of me. You know what I'm saying? Down the block. But he got destroyed here in this fight. I think, Robbie Lawler, what he's underrated with the most is his ability to get punches off in the clinch. I think him, Charles Oliveira, guys like that are top tier with that. And they can finish fights in the clinch, with close range punches. So the video as well, good video, great video. And I've seen some reporters are asking Dana why did he get a video, but why didn't other people get videos like Amanda and stuff like that? It's just like, I don't know, it's kind of different because this guy has just had so many classic fights.
And he
You
didn't know
know,
Amanda was retiring. Like Robbie announced this
yeah,
forever.
This has been a known thing as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
Robbie Lawler deserves it. I mean, everybody knows that infamous him versus McDonald, and he had the slip hanging. So
All
great
right, ladies and
retirement, great way
gentlemen,
to end the fight.
we're going on a nostalgia trip, and I'm tearing up just thinking about this because Robbie Lawler, for anyone that's been an MMA fan for a long time, you know how much Robbie Lawler means to mixed martial arts. That Nick Diaz fight back in the day when he still had hair was one of the greatest fights in UFC history at the time, right? And it helped elevate the sport, right? Robbie in Strikeforce was an absolute killer. Robbie comes to the UFC finally, and then that he, fights Johnny Hendricks twice. He beats Carlos Condit. He fought anybody, anywhere, anytime. That was Robbie Lawler. But then that Rory McDonald fight, the second one. Here's what people don't realize: the first two rounds were so dead. Rory and Robbie didn't do anything. The lip was still fine. Everything. Round three happened, brother, and that is the greatest war I've ever seen between two men in history. That fight was nuts. They're spitting blood at each other. They're staring each other down with a broken nose and a busted lip, and they're just going nonstop. And the thing is with Robbie Lawler, that energy, he brought that to every single fight, win or lose. Robbie Lawler was, in a lot of regards, him, Chuck Liddell, those kind of guys are what mixed martial artists look at and say, that's what I want to be. A guy that fights anybody anywhere, has no fear, wants to take someone's soul every time. For Robbie Lawler to finish his career the same way he went about it in his prime, knocking guys out, walking away, lifting those arms up. Dude, I cried when the video came out, the tribute video, because Robbie Lawler, man, we're transitioning into a new era of mixed martial arts. Jose Aldo's gone, Cowboy Cerrone's gone, the Diaz brothers are gone, Robbie Lawler's gone, St. Pierre's gone, and so I'm not saying the new generation is not great. It is. It is. We're in a blessed time. This is the best era of mixed martial arts. But those guys, man, what Robbie and all those guys did to build this sport up, uh, he definitely deserved the video. And anybody that argues differently is an idiot, if I'm being honest. Because guys like that built this sport. This sport was outlawed back in the 90s, and now it is one of the biggest sports in the world today, right? One of the most watched entertainment products in the world, one of the most practiced things in the world, right? Exactly. And that's because of guys like Robbie Lawler. When you play someone that Rory McDonald fight, they are gonna watch afterwards and be like, these guys are not human. They're not real. Guess what? Robbie was still talking with the busted lip. Robbie still wanted more. That's the kind of guy Robbie Lawler was. Thank you for everything, Robbie Lawler. If you ever watch this, man, you made an impact on my life and so many other fans. Enjoy your retirement, brother. You deserve it. You are an absolute G of a human being. And I wish I could be even half of the guy you are, right? With everything you've done in your career. Just amazing person, amazing human being, man. Thank you, Robbie Lawler. That was a great moment. The pictures are great too. And for Nico Price, man, retire. Anyway,
You know, I headlined the
no, he
prelims.
sucks. He sucks. Sorry, he sucks, bro.
Yeah,
He sucks. He sucks, bro.
I said to a guy earlier in the day, some guy who apparently went to school with him, he was like, "Well, you see, he's had some of the craziest knockouts of all time." I'm like, "Bro, he's trash."
Bro,
Anyway,
he had that up kick against James Vick, who ended up being a bar bouncer now. So I'm good. Okay.
going into the main card, late notice fight, fill in for by Val Woodburn against Bo Nickel. But Bo Nickel, everybody knows Bo, top prospect, top wrestler, probably the best wrestler in the UFC right now. Maybe you could say Marab, maybe. But Val Woodburn, he went in there, he tried to throw some heavy shots in the beginning, and Bo ain't no bitch. I think I texted you. I said, Bo ain't no bitch. He said, "You want to throw? We can throw." And then Bo said, "Fuck it, we can throw." And then he knocked him out. So I think his stock just goes up and up and up. And every time we see him, his stock just goes up more and more. But he does need to start getting some more top tier opponents. I think
Yeah.
him
Yes.
versus Trayshawn Gore would have been a better test. But this guy isn't. This guy's 7-0 with a bunch of knockouts. So he's not a bum, but he's a bum in terms of Bo Nickel.
Can I just say that we found Captain America? He's our Captain America now. That man is a national hero, bro. He's
So
gonna keep.
can I say this real quick?
Yeah.
Usually people have like wrestlers, right? They have a tough time being exciting or like you being excited for their fights and like winning. But he has a good mix of like being exciting and winning and getting them finishes. So
Yeah.
shout out below.
And he's not a nutcase outside the octagon either. He's very much like he grinds out, he works hard, he's very humble. I respect it, but he also has that chip where he knows he can kill you if he wants to, right? No, Bo Nickel, I need to apologize to him. I talked about his striking. I was not familiar with your game, sir. I apologize. I know you took that personally, and you took it out on Val Woodburn because, oh my gosh, bro. I'm sorry, Trayshawn Gort might have been a bigger test, but let's be honest, that fight would have ended the same way. Bo Nickel knowing how to strike is a scary proposition, bro. We're talking about a guy that suplexed Gordon Ryan. We're talking about a guy that was a 4-time national champion, 3-time All American. This guy, if he learns how to strike, oh wait, he did. He's nuts, bro. He's nuts. And Val Woodburn is no joke. He's big for a middleweight. And he just did a little check hook, and Val Woodburn's just like, oh, they're convulsing on his feet, bro, and like, oh my gosh,
He,
man.
all the follow up shots, the left hook was accurate, the uppercut accurate, and then the ground and pound one shot was super. He's just accurate, man. He's
Bro,
powerful.
that ground and pound. Can you imagine someone going through 5 rounds of getting ground and pounded by Bo Nickel like that? That would look like Habib and Connor. That is nuts, bro. I listen, Bo Nickel, man. Give him a ranked fight. Andre Muniz at 14 is perfect at middleweight. Give him Andre Muniz, who's a grappler as well. Do it. Book it. He needs a ranked fight. This guy is a future UFC champion. I'm telling you right now, bro. And we've said this. This guy is the truth. He's the real deal, right? He has the credentials. He works hard. He trains with American Top Team, right? Like this guy has everything in his bag, and he keeps getting better and better. And I love it. The UFC is pushing him, but they're not pushing him too hard, right? They're giving him fight, but they're not, oh, number one contender fight. They're not doing like they did with Abus Magomedov, right? A few last card or whatever. Like they're not doing that, and I appreciate that because we get to appreciate Bo Nickel's growth, like we did with John Jones, right? Like we did with Adesanya. We get to appreciate these guys' growth that they take fight after fight.
Well, I don't know if Adesanya had that much growth.
Well, he took a minute. That's what I'm saying. He took a minute though. It wasn't like Adesanya had 3 fights and was a champion. Like he had a lot of fights in between before he got to that stage. You got to give a guy a chance to get about 10 fights, in my opinion, right? Before they, fight for a top spot in the UFC, right?
About 8.
8, yeah, 8 to 10. 8 to 10 is a good number. I think if you're coming in like him with no prior promotion experience, definitely 8 to 10 is a good number. So yeah, Bo Nickel, man, great win. He's the new Captain America. That man is like the support he's getting, and with Trump there as well. Right after the fight, he went up to Trump and was talking to him. Dude,
All the fighters love Trump. They know they're all based. So.
bro, Joe. Hey, you see him and Joe shaking hands? We're gonna interject a second here, guys. Him and Joe Rogan were shaking hands and talking, bro. I need that Joe Rogan Experience episode. The
Yeah,
people want it, Joe.
Joe likes RFK though.
I know he does, but I need that episode.
Which I'm not saying I don't like RFK. I just don't like, he promotes affirmative action a little too much. But
yeah, but
and
still,
he wanted people to get fined for environmental stuff. But
yeah, but still, man. I mean, yeah, no, that Joe Rogan and Trump talking, we might get that episode. Hey, UFC 290 had a lot of great stuff. That was one of them.
So you see the Rumble executive, he always like signs a new person. Like he signed Rice Gum, and they always brings them to the fight. So they have all the Rumble guys there. They have all the Nelk boys there. They got famous celebs. They got all the fighters. That's how you know it's such a great sport. Like how many NBA players do you see at another NBA game? Like you might see like a couple. Like half of a section will be all UFC fighters. So
yeah, man. Jose Aldo, Charles Oliveira, Gilbert Burns, his wife and kids, Glover Teixeira was there. Cheeto Vera, Uriah Faber, Adesanya,
Jamal Hill, Aljamain Sterling.
Bro, everybody was there, bro. Jamal Hill was there as well. Like all these guys were there, and it's like that's the beauty of the sport where even if you're not competing, if you have if you have a spot, like you're going to someone else's fight because you're like, this is it. This is it. You get to watch moments like this, and so because here's the thing with basketball and like all these other sports, you know what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna put a ball in the hoop, someone's gonna throw the ball, whatever. Mixed martial arts, you don't know what's gonna happen. It could be a 5 round like snooze fest, or it could be a 10-second knockout. You
The event
don't know.
itself is fun. That's the best thing about MMA. Like the live event itself is just the experience is. It's like a
It
team
is the
movie too.
best promoted product in the world, and the reason why it killed boxing was because of that. So
Yep.
we're in MMA history. Let's keep going with the card because this
Uh,
next fight was great.
yeah, I'm glad the judges didn't scam Dan Hooker because Dan Hooker here, getting the split decision win over Jalen Turner. That one judge who gave Jalen Turner the win, I don't know, you're faded as fuck. Like that got me heated. I think Dan surprised me here. I didn't think he was going to win this fight. I thought he might have got finished. In the early it didn't look good, but he just showed that his threshold is higher than Jalen Turner's, which we see a lot. In Henry Cejudo's video, he talks about threshold of fighters and stuff like that and how it matters. So Dan Hooker, he's always been a brawler, and I think his threshold showed in this fight, and that's what got him the win. Broke his arm in the second round. We didn't even know until after the
Yep.
fight. So he tells the ref not to raise his hand too hard. So great
Yeah.
fighter, man. I think he needs to get he didn't get the win bonus or the performance of the night bonus, but he needs to get the 50 G's because this is what I thought was fight of the night. Like
Yep.
people keep saying Pantoja Moreno, fight of the year. I'm like, did you guys not watch that last fifth round? Like it was all
Honestly,
toasting,
the
toasting.
last 3 rounds, the last 3 rounds were being
Yeah.
honest.
So
Like
I mean,
no,
this was fight of the night for me. I think performance of the night goes to Dricus, but fight of the night. This is my fight of the night. Dan Hooker, great fight, but I just don't know if he can still get another shot. I don't know if he'll be able to beat some of these top guys. Jalen Turner's a top guy, but can he beat a Gamrot? Can he beat a Beneil? Is Beneil the next fight to make?
with Dan Hooker, it's tough. Obviously, he's had a huge drop off in his career, but now he's pulled off 2 great wins. And coming back, he got cracked in the first round with that kick, busted him up, and he came back and won. There's a lot. I think Rafael dos Anjos would be a great fight for Dan Hooker at some point. I don't know if dos Anjos is booked right now or not. Grant Dawson would be a good one as well.
I think Dos Anjos is booked.
Yeah, but like there's Ismagulov, Matt Frivola be one. Like Dan Hooker has some fights there. I don't like you said. I don't know if he ever fights at the top again. But for Jalen Turner, and I look at him. He's big for lightweight, but he needs to stop fighting at lightweight. That weight cut is honestly one of the things that killed him in this fight because he just was gassed. He was done, bro. Like Dan Hooker's a dog. You have to be at 100% against Dan Hooker the whole fight. Are we gonna forget his fight against Dustin Poirier? Like this guy can take shots. This guy will keep going at you. You have to put him down, like Michael Chandler did. You have to put him down. And I think Jalen Turner, like it's tough when you're that big, cutting that much weight. It's tough to be able to have the cardio necessary to finish a guy, to keep going till it's done. And he could have finished his fight. He could have. And then Dan Hooker almost choked him out at the end of the first round after all that. And then
I
fought a
don't, I
great.
don't know if it's the weight cut though. I think just the weapons he chose, like his kicks, his deep kicks and his kicks are good, but like he really didn't throw his hands at all. Like he didn't really throw no hands at all. And I think he's got some of the best hands in that division. So I really think
Yeah.
that's what hurt him. He didn't throw no hands to make Dan Hooker respect him early on. He was throwing a bunch of kicks. So Dan Hooker's like, okay, I can just take these quick kicks. I know I'm tough, and I'm gonna get in the inside and I'm gonna start catching them. And that's what he did. And
Yeah, but at the same time, to throw the weapons, you have to be uh properly in a proper state. Let's put it that way, right? When you are drained cutting that much weight, it's tough to be able to maintain that output when the lactic acid builds up. When you're drying out your brain that much to cut so much weight, because there's no shot Jalen Turner, right, with the amount of muscle he has, doesn't cut at least 25, 30 pounds, right? Which is a big cut for a guy that big, right? And so but yeah, like you said, it was also a lack of weapons. He wasn't diverse enough with his weapons, using his hands especially. Um, and the thing is with Dan Hooker was just getting his jab off at will on Jalen Turner, right?
because he
And
wasn't
it's
throwing
almost
his hands, he was just throwing his feet.
and it's like Jalen Turner, you have a huge reach advantage, a huge height advantage, right? You cannot let a guy jab the life out of you the whole entire fight like that. You just can't. And so Dan Hooker, I'm happy to see him win though, man. He is a dog. Seeing the kind of like Brenner, Elvis Brenner last week with the bloody blonde hair. Same thing with Dan Hooker this week, man. It's a sick look, man, when those guys win. All the blood on them and stuff, man. But good win for Dan Hooker, man. I'm very happy to see him finally starting to get it back together, you know?
Yeah. And then going here to a fight that could have been a co-main, a fight that could have been maybe a main event, maybe, or a fight night main event. And probably one of the biggest upsets, I think, since probably Usman Edwards, I
Yep.
think. Dricus Duplessis getting a second round TKO over Robert Whitaker. Man, this is crazy, bro. You know, aligning himself to go into fight Izzy next. Um, Drake has just showed that he's a dog, man. He's a pit bull. He just went in there. He put the pace up on Robert Whitaker, and he showed him that you can't blitz me because every time you blitz, he was catching him with some awkward jabs, some awkward catch hooks. He's just an awkward fighter. I don't know. It's so weird. Like his stance.
Yep.
His stance allows him to catch you because you think he's covering up, which he does cover up a lot. But sometimes when he covers up, it's for you to come in and then he catches you with something quick. So which what he did, he caught him with like a quick straight. So
That's kind of
to
like
be able to put
Yoel
Robert Whitaker
Romero.
down like that, that's crazy. Robert Whitaker is a guy who's
Yep.
fought Jared Cannonier. He's fought
Yoel,
Marvin Vittori. He's fought Yoel and
Jacare,
he's went
Kelvin,
5 rounds with
Jake
Izzy. So
Still, Martin Vittori. A fun stat I found last night. The only people to ever finish Robert Whitaker in his career, Izzy, obviously, Dricus, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson are the only three
that
guys.
welterweight, that
Mm-hmm.
welterweight.
The only three guys to finish Robert Whitaker. Not taking anything away from Dricus before we get into him. I think Rob might have been injured coming into this fight. He did not look the same. Something looked off in the way he was fighting.
I don't know. To me, he looked. To me, he fought the same style he always fights. I'm telling you, he fights blitz heavy like that. I'm telling you, he fights blitz. It's just that Izzy just never has had the power to just to put him
Right.
down. Besides the first fight, and Jared and Marvin, they're not the most accurate guys, and they're not the most scariest guys to fight. So I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I
You
think
know,
Drake.
he so obviously Whitaker is a black belt in karate, right? Like he has that Kempo karate style, which GSP had as well. One thing I noticed the way Dricus, the way he kind of fights is kind of like Yoel in a way, where like he's covering up and then he throws those shots from like weird angles, right? Yeah, and I think what Yoel found the same success against Robert doing this, but Dricus has more power than Yoel, right? In his hands at least. Um, but the thing with Whitaker was every time he would blitz, not only was Dricus landing, but he wasn't letting Whitaker escape, which is a big thing. Why a lot of guys have struggled with Whitaker. Whitaker would be able to escape to the side and escape out. But Dricus fights like a bowling ball, dude. I love it because he just goes forward and
Yeah.
he just smash, smash, smash. Like that ending sequence, he was hunting down Whitaker. He was being smart. He wasn't overly blitzing, right? But Dricus Duplessis, man, like obviously I still think Adesanya wins when they do fight. But I think the way that Dricus fights makes for you look at Yoel and Izzy. That fight was one of the most boring fights in UFC history, in my opinion, right? But you got a guy in Dricus who fights similar to Yoel with actual output. I think that makes for a very interesting fight between Izzy and Dricus. I think Dricus definitely has a chance. Every guy has a chance when they go in the octagon. I believe that. I just think it's an interesting fight. I think this is a fight that Izzy hasn't faced a guy like this in a long time, right? A guy like a guy that
I think he's like a better version of Marvin Vittori. I think he's like Marvin Vittori,
yep,
way better, like an actual threat.
yeah, or Kelvin even kind of like Kelvin as well.
He does,
And
yeah.
we saw,
He's a lot like Calvin Gastelum. That's who I'd say
and
as
we
well.
saw what Kelvin was able to do to Izzy, right? And it's nothing against Izzy. It's just styles dictate matchups, right? And listen. I'm not gonna lie. I love the beef between those two, between Dricus and Izzy. I think it makes for good pay-per-view sales. It makes for good promotion. Uh, Luke, listen, I love Morning Combat, but Luke Thomas, that question he hit Ray Dana with after the fight, where the racial undertones after the fight. Shut up, dude.
It's
Shut
no
up.
race. He's black. He can say nigga. Like what?
It's the
It's a
fight
word.
game.
It's a
It's the
word.
fight game.
It's a
Like
word. Gotta give
it's
a
a
word
word.
pop.
It's a word one, and also it's the fight game. These two have personal beef with each other, and guess what? We get to enjoy the product. They get to get paid hundreds of $1,000s to enact their
Millions.
beef and settle it.
Millions. They're gonna get
Millions,
paid
yeah,
for it.
exactly. Who's losing? I'm
Bro,
not.
let's say this: they're going into a cage to punch, elbow, and kick each other to do brain damage. And you're
Yep.
worried about words they're talking about. Like, come on.
Right. It's like with the Masvidal and Covington stuff, and everybody was like, "Is it going too far?" I'm like, I mean, personally, I wouldn't say stuff Covington's saying, but guess what? That's the fight game. They know what they're doing. They're grown men, and guess what? They get to sell in the octagon at the end of the day and beat the crap out of each other. So I Dana was right. He's like, I don't care. This is the fight game. My job is to sell the fight and promote it. I agree 100%. And at the end of the day, it's a good storyline. Dricus is South African. He speaks Afrikaans. He's very proud of his African heritage, and Izzy's proud of his African heritage too. And they get to beef about it. It's great. It is great. And guess what? The fight's gonna sell in Australia and New Zealand. The fight's gonna definitely sell in Africa as a whole. It's gonna sell in Nigeria. It's gonna sell in South Africa, right? And now Dana White gets to grab this fight and say, I can put this on any pay-per-view anywhere in the world, right? But he's going to shoot for Australia. I can put this on any pay-per-view in the world, and this thing is going to sell and be one of the biggest pay-per-views, not just of the year, but probably the decade, if we're being honest.
People just pick and choose because they don't get mad when it's Ireland versus Dagestan, when it's America versus Russia, when it's Mexico versus Brazil. Like, come on now, let's do Nigeria versus South Africa. Why not? Let's get it
Right.
in.
And at the end of the day, it's like Sean Strickland, the stuff Sean Strickland was saying yesterday. Bro, not yesterday, last week. Like,
You spit
the
facts
beauty.
though.
Yeah, but also like this is the beauty of the UFC and why I've loved this sport for so long. Other sports bring politics way too much into the sport, right? The beauty of the UFC is you get paid, you fight, and you can say whatever you want, dude. Whatever you want, bro. Because at the end of the day, we're here to watch you fight. And if fans don't like you, that's their choice. If fans do like you, that's their choice. The UFC is not promoting that, you know, Dricus is an African or this, that, whatever narrative people want to choose. They're not promoting that. They're giving the platform for it. And if you're for free speech, you should be supporting this because look at the great product it makes. When you let free speech happen and let these guys who are normal human beings like you and me, they're just extremely talented fighters, be able to express their beliefs and views and do all this stuff, right? It makes for a great product because then you and me can have a podcast and talk about it and watch the fight and be like, hey, this is what I want to see is normal people with normal beef beat the crap out of each other, right?
Right.
So,
Next we need a German versus Israeli next, on God.
yeah. Hey, Natan Levy, man. No, no, but hey, listen. For Robert Whitaker, it sucks though because let's be honest, he's probably never fighting for a title again. After this, it sucks. I love Robert Whitaker to death, man. It's a shame he never really got to defend his belt. And for Dricus Duplessis, man, listen, he gets to fight Izzy now, well deserved. His gas tank is fixed. He convinced me. The nose thing fixes gas tank. Him and Izzy's gonna be a great fight, and yeah, now middleweight, there's a
We
lot
get to
more
see some
fights.
new. We get to see some new shit.
Yep, exactly,
Actually, thinking
exactly.
about it right now, Dricus kind of reminds me of GSP.
Yeah, I can see that in
He's
some
not as
ways. I can
good,
see that.
but
I can see that in
uh,
some ways.
so
And
let's go into
listen,
the.
Dricus came out of nowhere, bro. He came out of nowhere. I respect it 100%. He has been going through everybody and beating Robert Whitaker. For people that are new to the sport, is not a joke. Beating Robert Whitaker is not easy feat, and
He's a
so
pound. He's on the pound for pound list, and he doesn't have a title.
like the man, like Robert Whitaker for years was they call him the Reaper for a reason. The guy literally ran through the middleweight division, got the belt, had a couple injuries, dealt with stomach stuff and all that. But the guy is legit, man. There's a reason him and Izzy fought twice, and the second fight, you can tell in that second fight, man. Like
Who did Rob
he's,
beat for the belt? I forgot.
huh?
Who did Rob beat for the belt?
So Rob beat Yoel for the belt. Yoel
Well, right?
missed
Okay.
weight, so Yoel couldn't win the belt. Then Kelvin and Izzy fought because yeah, it was Whitaker had to pull out because his appendix burst and something like that. He had some stomach issues, and that's why Izzy and Kelvin fought. Then Izzy and Whitaker fought to unify the belt, and then
Then
Izzy
Izzy
knocked him
fought
out.
Yoel, and then Izzy fought Yoel.
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, there's a whole history behind it. Robert Whitaker technically never defended his belt because he had to re-win it, and it's a whole mess. That time at middleweight, but no, Robert Whitaker is still one of the goats, man. At middleweight, it sucks. It sucks it's happened. But
Yep.
yeah, let's go to the
Then
next fight.
we had the co-main. We had Alexandre Pantoja beating Brandon Moreno for the third time, becoming the flyweight champion of the world. Um, Brandon Moreno here, I think he broke his hand, they said, in the second round. So showing that Mexican spirit, still make it that close with a broken hand in the second round, props to him. I think he did when he was winning the fight, is when he kept it more simple, when he was just throwing 1-2s, and working behind that jab when he was trying to do a lot more extra shit. Alexander Pantoja was just using his grappling and his shots, his takedowns to stop, and his back takes to stop Brandon from blitzing him. So, and Brandon also had some extra like special elbows he threw in there. But I got a question for you in this fight. What do you rank higher? Because we got a situation here where Brandon Moreno, he won the belt one time, right? Then he lost it. Then he wins it to Figueiredo. Then he loses it here to Pantoja. Say Pantoja goes and fights like a Royval or something, and he loses to Royval. Moreno gets to fight Royval and he wins. What do you rate higher? If Moreno would have those title defenses, or if he gets to become a champion 3 times?
So Moreno has that one title defense against Kai. That's the only one he has in his
That's not a
career.
title defense. That was for interim belt.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
He doesn't have any
Okay.
defenses.
Wow. Okay. Oh wow. I would
What do you rate higher, becoming a 3-time champ or would they have those 3 defenses?
I say three-time champ. I say three-time champ because of how difficult it is to get to the top of the sport, right? And yes, it's difficult to stay on top, but division like flyweight, we've talked about it. Like the how technical guys are, the smaller they get, right? It is a lot more difficult to be the champ, right? And then all that. Like, look at Demetrius Johnson. He defended the belt so many times only because Demetrius Johnson is one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever, right? Um, no, I think I would rate more if he wins it again. It's a great story. And you could the only guy that will be a boogeyman in his career if he beats Royval is Pantoja because he never beat Pantoja, right? And
Yeah.
so,
And they're not even
um,
they're not even against booking this fight again. I think they only count the 2 losses because the other one's basically technically an exhibition. So,
yeah,
you know, they
and I think
Ever since Izzy knocked out Pereira, everybody thinks you can go 0-4 against somebody and get the fifth fight or some shit.
I will say one thing about this fight because I was watching this with my friend Kofi. Shout out Kofi. He's one of my training partners at Daniel Gracie, right? Great jiu-jitsu practitioner Kofi is. And we were watching the fight. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu in this fight, obviously, a lot of grappling. And when Pantoja had Brandon's back, right? One thing me and Kofi were talking about was, is he really losing the fight because he wasn't getting hurt and he was playing it because this is what you got to do when you're grappling. You can't just wiggle your way out and throw strikes from the back or whatever. Like you have to get in a position where you're not getting hurt and then you can find a way out, right? This was a chess match because Pantoja wasn't being aggressive other than looking for submissions and then he would just lay on him, right? He wouldn't throw punches or
He was
whatever.
waiting for Brandon to make mistakes.
Exactly, exactly. And but that's grappling. I think one thing you can say is when it comes to scoring this fight, do you value more damage or control? Right? And that's been the debate for
I
God
mean, it's
knows how
damage in
long.
the rules. There's not a debate in the rules. It's damage. It's literally damage in the rules.
Yeah, no, well, it depends because
No, in the rules, damage is number one.
yeah, but the tough thing is, obviously, I wouldn't have scored at 49-46. The guy that scored at 49-46, Moreno, needs to get drug
Faded.
tested.
Yeah, he's just faded.
He's an idiot. He scored the first 4 rounds for Moreno, which is nuts.
Two is
Um,
debatable. You know,
yeah,
giving him two
like
rounds is debatable.
this fight reminded me of like Islam and Volk, if we're being honest. It kind of reminded me of that, where it's like, yeah, one had the grappling advantage, but it wasn't like a dominant grappling advantage. Like Pantoja was just laying on him for most of the fight. And Brandon, listen, when you got a guy in your back with a body lock, you have to wait for him to make a mistake to get him off you, right? And
I don't
so,
know. I feel like he was a little bit more dominant than Islam was because he had
yeah,
his back, he had the back body lock, and Brandon Moreno was, trying to switch sides, and he was switching sides on the body lock. So it was more active, but it was more active in the details and the smaller things, like switching sides on the body lock and shit like that.
right. So listen, there's a controversy on scoring this fight, but at the end of the day, I do agree. Pantoja won the fight.
Sadly,
But
I wanted Brandon to win, but sadly, Pantoja
yeah,
definitely won the
sadly,
fight.
Pantoja won. I agree with you though. You sent me a text, and I agree with you. I don't agree with coasting for a title. if you're coasting at the end of the fight, that's not it, right?
Yeah, like that last minute, just laying on his
Yep,
back.
he lost a lot of respect in that regard. I think Brandon Royval is a great fight for Pantoja. Pantoja's a great wrestler, but Brandon Royval is just so complete, man. And I think he pushes the pace in a way where I'm not saying Brandon doesn't push the pace, but one of Brandon's flaws that I noticed, right, watching the fight, me and Kofi were talking about it, is he'll wait a minute to get openings, but the problem is his chin is so far out there. And that's what Pantoja was catching him on the chin because the chin was so far out there. And he was letting Pantoja get the shot out first. And listen, Brandon's still a great fighter. I think he definitely has another title shot in him at some point. But Brandon Royval is the fight to make for Pantoja. And yeah, no, listen, good win for Pantoja. He definitely deserves to be champion. Um,
Pantoja reminds me of like Sterling, you know. He uses the grappling when he's uncomfortable in the situation. He's gonna go straight to the grappling no matter what,
yep.
even just to rest it a little bit, just to get
Mm-hmm.
out of danger, which
Yep.
is smart. It's smart. It's not the most entertaining. I know he might not. He might not. It's gonna be a while. He's gonna have to do some things to get some of the fans on his side. Because Brandon Moreno had to do the same thing though. I mean, nobody was fucking with Brandon Moreno until he had that great fight against Figueiredo, first
Right.
one. You know,
Right. I agree.
Pantoja's gonna have to go out there. It's gonna have to be a big finish against Royval. I don't see
Yeah.
that fight going to decision. So
Yep.
unless they rematch this fight, which Dana is not opposed to, because he thought this was fight of the year, which I think this was a very high level fight, but
I want to say
I
fight of
think
the year
Dan
though.
Hooker and Turner was better, and it's on the same card. And there's a lot of other good fights that happened already this year that I don't think it's better. So,
No, I agree, man.
so going into the main event, we had Alexander Volkanovski, getting the TKO finish in round three versus Yair Rodriguez. Just showing that use some of the wrestling ground and pound. And he was able to. Actually, he didn't do this as much as I thought. He didn't avoid like how dangerous Yair is in his guard. He was actually letting Yair cut him up and elbow and slice him a lot, which I thought he would kind of have more of a, be more heavier on the upper body and towards the head. More heavier
Yeah.
towards the head when he's in his guard. But no, he's able to get the win, and then he actually caught him on the feet and got him out of there. So, great fight out of Volk, and just showing that he's pound for pound probably number one right now. Um, we got to see John Jones fight Stipe. So I say make him pound for pound number one. And if John Jones beats Stipe, just keep flipping back and forth. You don't have to flip it back and forth because.
Yeah.
But
We
Yair,
are.
man, Yair showed a couple things. I've seen probably the fastest question mark kick I've ever seen in my life. The first one he threw, I think he threw like a cheap kick, and then he
Mhm.
set him up in the trap, and he threw one that I don't know how Volk didn't get hit. I think his height actually helped him with those because he was able
Right.
to. His height is kind of bad because it's there to be kicked, but he can just turn his shoulder a little bit. So,
Right.
uh, great fight out of Volk though.
No, man. We are witnessing greatness. For anybody that doesn't appreciate Alexander Volkanovski, you better start now because this guy is. It doesn't make sense how he's that good of a fighter at his height and all this stuff. He's so good, man. He has no flaws in his game. He just doesn't.
Shout out to Craig Jones. You tell
Yeah,
he
Craig.
improved his
Yeah, shout out
grappling.
Craig Jones. City Kickboxing as well. Like that's their great camp. And one thing with Volk, man, I talked about this in the fight breakdown, right? Is the fact that he was able to control the distance so much in a way where Yair would be so close to throwing offense, but then Volk would just close the distance, land one or two shots, and then just get out of there, right? Because the way Volk puts pressure is he reels you in, right? And then he uses his feints and his footwork, his quickness on the feet to close the distance and land his shots, right? And then his grappling. We saw a bit of it in the Brian Ortega fight, especially at the end. We saw a bit in the Islam fight. We saw a bit in the third Holloway fight, right? Where Volk can pick up any of these guys. Volk can probably pick up middleweights and toss them around like pillows, bro, if we're being honest. He is insanely strong. And then landing the ground and pound, dude, Volkanovski, my respect to him. He's such a complete fighter, a terrific fighter, a great champion, one of the greatest of all time, for being honest, probably the greatest featherweight of all time. It's between him, Max, and Aldo, and I think Volk is making a stronger case every single fight because Yair Rodriguez is no slouch. It's not like he fought a bum. He fought one of the most dangerous strikers, right, in UFC history. Like the way Yair Rodriguez fights is, it doesn't makes sense how Volk was able to avoid so much damage and finish in the way he did. That's how good Volkanovski is, though.
And to have
Um,
such a perfect fight, he still got hurt in the fight.
yeah,
Still
yeah,
got still got cut. He still got some
yeah.
damage. So
And he came in hurt to this fight. He hurt his arm in training camp, right? And now he has to get surgery on it, right? And like, bro, Volkanovski is insane. I think, they're talking about he can't fight in Sydney. He won't be ready in time because of surgery. He wants the Makhachev rematch, which I'm not against booking, but honestly, as a fan, I want to see him and Ilya more. If I'm being honest.
yeah, but I think that fight's always there. I think the Islam fight could go away, especially if you give it to Charles and Charles wins. But I think Charles said he can't make it to that Abu Dhabi card, so they have to get
Yeah.
somebody against Islam. So let's just say this: say Volk, they don't give it to Volk, they don't give it to Charles. That means, hey, Dustin Poirier or Gaethje get another title shot.
Oh my gosh, not the BMF champ belt. No. Hey, unifying the BMF belt
What do you
with the
mean, bro? I want one of them to become a champ at least one time, bro.
No, I agree, but then you're unifying the BMF belt with the lightweight championship, and then Islam's gonna say that the BMF belt's haram or whatever.
Well,
So
that's you saying that's like you saying they're gonna beat Islam. I don't know if either one of those guys is beating
yeah,
Islam.
the BMF belt is a big time haram, bro. Mashallah. So I don't know how Islam's gonna feel about unifying that belt, but no,
He said
gosh.
so.
No, yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of question marks that come with Volk winning this fight. But guess what? Dana says something that's very true. He's like, with everything Volkanovski's done, whatever he wants to do, we're gonna roll with it. I agree. Volkanovski's earned that right, bro. Let's be honest. Other than John Jones, um, and John Jones is probably second for being honest. Volkanovski is the best fighter in the UFC. He is. He just is, bro. He's insane. And Ilya Taporia, man, listen, Ilya's young. Like you said, that fight's always going to be there. There's still other fights to make at featherweight with him. So it's not a problem
It's
putting that
gonna
on
be
the shelf.
such a good fight, bro.
But that'd be a great fight. Because Ilya's a black belt in BJJ. Ilya's a terrific striker. They both fight so similar in some ways. I would love that fight, man.
Bro, he fought Josh Emmett and didn't get. He only got danger like one time, bro. The whole fight. I was really watching it, and I'm like, "There's no way this guy's in the pocket the whole fight." But he was in danger one time, bro.
But the
Imagine.
crazy thing is, Volk does the same thing. I don't know how they like the way they do it because Volk against Holloway fought in the pocket, against Yair fought in the pocket, against Ortega fought in the pocket, right? And he was caught in danger maybe once in each of those fights, right? Other than that, the way these guys can fight in the pocket, get their strikes off, and just impose their will, bro, it it's crazy. Like everybody looks at height and weight and muscle and stuff. Like no, sometimes like these shorter guys, man, they have an advantage in being able to use like their reach or this or that. And so
Lower center of gravity.
center of gravity feints, bro. Ilya and Volk. I'll talk about it as we do the breakdowns more when Ilya fights or whatever. But I talk about some Volkanovski breakdown. The feints win these guys the fights. They trick you like Max Holloway. He was stopping Max Holloway with his feints, rolling out, hitting him. Yair. He was feinting Yair into freezing mid strike so that way he could land his shots. The guy's a genius, man. I'm very happy he got this win. We'll see what happens. He's gonna be out for a minute. Like we both said, 10 out of 10 on this card. Thank you, Dana. Whether it was the fights you made, the stars you brought 45 to watch the fight as well, man. Absolutely terrific international fight week. This is one of the better international fight week cards ever, for being honest. So good, man.
Yeah, these last three fights, they caused a lot of movement in a lot of divisions, which we've had a little bit of stagnation in the divisions, in the
Yep.
beginning of the year. But a lot of these fights, and then that Ilya Taporia fight, and then I think this Bueno Silva home fight will also determine, a couple of things. So get
No, we
into
have to
that.
talk about this card.
Next week we got number 3 Holly Holm versus Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva's girl that you think is going to be the next champion. Hopefully, to me, in my opinion, I don't want to see Holly Holm fight for another champ. I don't think championship. I don't think she's that level, but she might just get it, because she's fighting a girl here with not as much experience, and she might just do the typical Holly Holm, push you against the cage the whole fight. So
I'm sorry, I have to say something about this card. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the co-main is Albert Duraev versus Jung Yong Park. So
I'm not looking forward to this card at all. Walt Harris is fighting. Oh gosh. Okay. Uh,
Norma
Norma
Dumont,
Dumont's fighting.
she's cold.
I'll tune into that fight. Austin Lingo's fighting. I'll tune into that.
Francisco Prado, he's cold.
Tyson Nas fighting.
Let's see if Terrence McKinney can come back from that knockout.
Yeah. Oh, Terrence McKinney's on the card. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he is. Okay. Oh, but he's fighting. Oh, he's fighting a. What is this? Uzbekistan? Yeah. I love Terrence McKinney, but yikes. No, I mean it's an okay card. It's at the Apex.
Nah, bro, be honest, card is trash.
It's bad. Albert Duraev is a boring watch every time. He's the underdog against Young Park, which is crazy, but it deserved as well. Myra Bueno Silva, though, she's nuts. I think Myra Bueno Silva is going to shock the world this fight because
Oh,
everybody's riding Holly Holm. But Myra Bueno Silva is so good, man. I can't wait to see this fight. Other than that, the rest of this card can kick rocks. This is not a fun card.
segment
Gennaro
on this card is
Valdez.
going to be
Hey,
5 minutes long.
Gennaro Valdez is not a bad fighter to look at actually on this
That's
card. Oh, no,
funny.
dude, you got Ashley Evans Smith is starting the card. She is 6-5. Dude, they gave Carl Dean another fight. Devon, they gave Carl Dean another fight. Carl Dean has another fight, bro. The man that has a patch of hair with a braid coming off it, just one patch. The guy that got backpacked for a whole fight got
Hey,
another fight in the
doesn't
UFC.
Yuri have a bead coming out his head?
Okay, Yuri's different. Yuri's Bushido, bro. Carl Deaton's like he trains out here in Michigan, and I
Oh, that's why he's a corny Michigan nigga.
yeah but he's like in the boonies. He's in the boonies, bro. Yeah, that's why. No, Carl Dean. Wow, they booked him again. He got destroyed last fight. I don't know how to feel about that. Tyson Nam's fun to watch, but he's probably gonna get destroyed. He's fighting a Kazakhstani guy. Evan Elder against Gennaro Valdez is not a bad fight, actually. That's gonna be an interesting one to watch. Austin Lingo, underdog against Mecasiel Costa. What a name. Good lord. Um, I don't know. Austin Lingo didn't look that great in his last fight. Victoria Dudakova against Estela Nunes, who is 6-4. Sure. Tucker Lutz is fighting against Melsik
Okay, I ain't
Bogdasarian.
gonna lie. This guy's cold. This Armenian
Oh
guy's
yeah,
cold.
Bogdasarian's cold. I like Bogdasarian. He's got some nice kicks.
Yeah, he's cold. His kickboxing is cold.
This fight's okay. Nasim Sadikov is probably gonna destroy Terrence McKinney, and I love Terrence McKinney, but
I
Sadikov.
needed Terrence to come back. The one that fought Drew Dober. You know, the one that
Yep.
fought. Who else did he finish? Fuck, I can't think right now. I don't know. I need that
Francisco
one.
Prado against Adman Azaitar. Prado's coming in as a favorite. He's 21 though, fighting a 33-year-old with one loss. That's
Prado's
gonna be
good. Prado's good. He's
Prado's
a
good.
well-rounded fighter.
Prado's good, but Azaitar might be a learning lesson. We'll see. Norma Dumont. That's gonna be a good fight. I like Norma Dumont. She's got some very good hands. Why are they still booking featherweight fights? I saw Dana said they were gonna dissolve that division. Yeah, I don't know why. Walt Harris against Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian and Walt Harris. This is gonna be a sloppy big boy fight.
This
Being
is the
honest,
fight you hate the most right here.
sloppy big boy fight, bro. You are gonna see a lot of sweating, a lot of clinching against the cage, and a lot of spinning stuff that doesn't land. And then Albert Duraev against Young Park. Young Park's mid, but so is Albert Duraev. We're being honest; they don't really do anything. Either of them.
I'll say Duraev's a little higher than mid. A
Yeah.
little higher than mid.
He just lays on people in the cage. I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, I don't know why this is the co-main, but then again, there's no other fight on this card I would put there. And then Holly Holm, like you said, fighting against Myra Bueno Silva. She's 41 now. She signed a 4-fight extension with the UFC, which is crazy. Great person outside the cage, though. I love what Holly Holm stands for. She's got a lot of good memories. I don't know how I feel about this fight.
Protect the kids.
Other than that, let's see. Other UFC news. Yeah, Connor's team got destroyed in Tough. Which again, prospects against veterans is one of the worst concepts in the show's history. I don't know why they did that.
I don't even think it's that. I feel like he's not even really training them for real.
He's not.
6-0 is crazy, bro. 6-0 and tough is crazy. I don't think has that ever
Well, and
happened.
Michael Chandler actually coaches guys.
Yeah, and I
That's
feel like he's a tryhard. I feel like he's like in there. All right, we're doing film at 6 a.m. We're going on our morning jog together. Connor just shows up, during the fight, and he's fucking half drunk and he's off
yeah,
TRT.
coked out.
He's off
Coked
TRT.
out. Well, and the thing is with Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler grew up wrestling in college. He trains out of a good camp at Killcliff. Former champion in Bellator twice. Guys, a professional. I'm not saying Connor isn't, but I'm saying it. Connor's not a professional. If we're being
He's a
honest,
businessman. He's not. He's a
he's a
businessman.
businessman now, right? Other news: Josiah Harrell came in with a statement after the brain disease got severed. He's getting surgery for that. Best wishes to him. And that Dan Hooker broke his arm completely. The X-ray, I don't know if you saw the X-ray. That was nuts. It just
Yeah, he
shattered.
shows how tough he is, man. He's a tough guy. Give him the bonus. Give him 50 G's for that.
Yeah, very tough guy, man. Stipe, John Jones got announced. UFC 290, Madison Square Garden. Stipe will have been 2.5 years outside the octagon when that fight.
Yeah, that's not ideal. But John Jones had a long period off, and you see what he did to Cyril Gahn. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you are fighting John Jones, so you're fighting a psychopath.
Exactly, man. So and Stipe's no slouch. Stipe is a terrific, the greatest heavyweight champion in history, for being honest. And then another announcement: George St. Pierre is doing grappling for the UFC Fight Pass Invitational in December, I think. They still don't have an opponent for him. Sugar Sean O'Malley got thrown out there as one of the opponents, right?
GSP.
For GSP, yeah. Because they book it like that. It's weird. They book it like that. Where it's
Put
not
him against
necessarily
Gordon
right.
Ryan. I want to see him against Gordon Ryan. Fuck the.
Well, Gordon Ryan, I don't know about that one,
They
man.
should do Gilbert. If we want to be legit though, they should do Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to see. But I think Gilbert's still recovering from whatever it is.
He might be able to grapple though. You might, whatever injury,
Yeah. What Elon Musk and Zuckerberg? That fight got a lot more interesting now with Threads coming out and Elon doing
And
a
that's not. That's fake. That's not happening, bro. Let's talk. Let's talk. I got some
no.
crazy
Hey,
people.
Dana came out again and said that's happening. I
Bro, that's
want to
all
believe in
promotion,
something,
bro.
Devon.
These are promoters.
Devon. I listen. I believe in God, but I also want to believe in this. I need something to believe in, bro. This fight's happening, okay?
Bro, how much money do you think they'd have to pay these guys to do this? These are guys who make probably $1 million a week.
I don't even
Million
think it'd be
dollars
money. I think they would just
a
like
day.
bet stock in their companies or whatever. Hey, bro, like Threads, like give me a 25% or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Speaking of threads, I started a threads for our IG at the Glove Top Podcast, so we're gonna try to do some more. I gotta talk to you about this. We gotta do more live tweeting and more tweeting during the fights. And we're gonna try to just, well, I guess what do you call it for threads? Tweeting? What do you call that shit? Posting?
Instagram tweeting.
Oh, threading? I've been threading the needle. I've been threading the needle. But and I also
Oh,
got us on Rumble, which I think the
yep,
Rumble views actually do better than the YouTube views. So I think Rumble, and
yep,
it's easier to monetize. So Rumble is
yep.
doing a little bit better. I'm gonna get us on
Well,
Spotify, audio only, and we're gonna get a new graphics for it because this is season 2.
yep.
This is
Season 2.
so we're into this shit. This is the
We're
second
gonna
one.
keep.
This
Yep,
is where
we're
the
gonna keep
fights get
pumping
banging.
stuff out. One last thing of news, I forgot. Cowboy Cerrone, Robbie Lawler, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo all got inducted to the UFC Hall of Fame. Not gonna lie, Jose Aldo doing this walkout crying kind of had me tearing up a little bit. And it's bro, Anderson Silva wasn't at the induction. Like, bro, you're getting
He's
inducted in the UFC
training
Hall of
his
Fame.
son, bro. He's training his son.
I know, but come on now, bro. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, no, we're going to pump out more stuff. Threads is going to be a great app for us. Definitely going to do with a lot of live tweeting and during the fights and stuff. I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys tell me, message us, put in the comments. Do you want to see a breakdown on Holly Holm, Meyer Bueno Silva?
No, bro, we're not doing no break. I'm
Because
saying
I
it right
don't.
now. I'm putting my foot down. No, I'm not. No. What
Because
are you gonna
I don't.
say?
I don't. Because I
No.
don't. Because I don't. I don't.
We'll come up
Okay?
with some other shit. You can do a video over Robbie Lawler.
Yes. I would rather talk about Robbie Lawler's lip than Holly Holm and Meyer Bueno
Like
Silva.
just watch Robbie Lawler moments, and
No,
react. We're like,
Exactly.
we'll
Exactly.
do, we'll do some reaction. We'll do a reaction video.
We'll do that because I'm sorry, this card next week, guys, is gonna suck. But we'll try to make next week's episode as best as possible when we get there.
Yep. And follow us on IG at the Glove Top Podcast. Subscribe, like, share, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with the views, bro. They be fluctuating, man. We need to get the views up.
Yeah, man.
10K. We're gonna come out with the "You Side of the Judges" shirt. So until then, we'll see you guys next time. This is Glove Top Podcast.
We need to get monetized, man. I need to buy more suits, bro, so I can be cage side. All right.
We need Jose cage side for Leon Edwards versus Kobe Covington with the suit with the MAGA hat. We need it.
Oh my god.